and my favorite books so far in 2025 are The God of Endings. I listened to it. I love it. We Used to Live Here. I read it. Hi, I'm Kim, and welcome to my mid-year book review. I have read 34 books this year, 18 of which are audios. So I'm not just churning through all the books, although I wish I could read that many. I've read 13 physical copy books and 3 are ebooks on my phone. I'm just going to start going through them by genre. So starting with nonfiction, the first book that I listened to is Empty Mansions by Bill Dedman. And it just didn't work for me. I'll read you the review that I had written for this. An old-timey billionaire, W.A. Clark, who was the Copper King and one of the richest men of the Gilded Age, uses his money to buy influence and notoriety. It's well-researched and intimate, but like a PBS special, sometimes I found Huguette Clark's story just a little boring, and sometimes it was quite fascinating. So it seemed too long and drawn out to be a book that really worked for me. But I am going to try to incorporate a little more nonfiction into the second half of the year because I only had one, and if you ask me, that's not enough. So the next category is memoirs, and I don't like to rate memoirs as it just seems too harsh and personal about basically, judging someone's life, even though I know it's probably more about like how the style of the book is and how the writing is, but all of these I would say worked for me, but none of them were like out of the ballpark for me. Down the Drain by Julia Fox was fun. She's a New York City girly. She was in Uncut Gems, and I liked listening to her. I like listening to any celebrity that's reading their story, or just anyone who wrote a memoir. Is very personal. She does have a lot of drug use, though, which was a little intense at times. What I Ate in 1 Year by Stanley Tucci. He's a little pretentious, but I would like to be able to eat out that much, maybe. He eats a lot of good food and does a lot of cooking, so it was fun listening to his book. I think this was his second memoir, so maybe his first one is a little more renowned. Be Ready When the Luck Happens by Ina Garten. I read this one for book club, and it was fine. It's hard to be objective about a celebrity when they have access to a lot of stuff that we don't. So it was fine. My Friend Anna, the true crime story of a fake heiress. I liked it. I binged this one. I think most people probably saw the Netflix special, which kind of sides with Anna versus the author of this one, which is Rachel DeLoache Williams. So this obviously is from her perspective, and is like, how could she get away with this? How could she trick you into dropping that much money on her? And it was good. I liked it. I also read Somewhere Sisters, a story of adoption, identity, and the meaning of family. And to me, it just didn't really work as a book. I feel like if it were a documentary, it would have been better. Somewhere Sisters. Erika Hayasaki. Moving on to YA and middle grade books. We'll start with the middle grade book. I read The Wild Robot by Peter Brown out loud to my 4-year-old, and I think we got through it in a couple weeks. It was fun. It had fun illustrations, and we're gonna go see the movie this summer at the $2 movie day. So that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I read Sanctuary by Paula, Mendoza, and Abby Sher. And for a young adult book, it covers a lot of mature material. It's a very adventurous, seeing what's happening with the country right now with ICE crackdowns and the state of living as an undocumented immigrant is very scary, I could imagine. And this book, although it's dystopian, is sadly hitting pretty close to home right now. So, yeah, if that seems interesting to you, I would recommend it. It was a very fast read for me. The next one is They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. I had this on my bookshelf, and I don't think I realized that it was a young adult until I was at a bookstore and saw it in the young adult section. So I picked it up as a way to get me to finish a book after having started a few and not been able to finish them. And I liked it. I think there's a sequel and maybe a third one. So it was good. A very interesting topic. Kind of seemed like, I don't know, like 1984 maybe. In a way, like you're being read your death date. It was a very interesting take. An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. I read this really quick. It was an ebook, and at the time I loved it, but I think it was like 3 months ago that I finished it, and I had to remember who the characters were and what it was exactly about. So I don't think it holds up as well as when I first finished it. And I don't know if that's because it's a young adult book, but it's definitely a fun adventure. So I'd read it again. Moving on to fantasy and sci-fi. Maybe the best book of 2025 for me is The God of Endings by Jacqueline Holland. I listened to this one, and I would wholeheartedly endorse it. I think if you read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, you would enjoy this. The other reviews I read say that it's too long, and I think it's either a love or hate with it, and I definitely loved it. It spans like 200 years, so pick it up. Fantasy historical fiction. Okay, so the book I'm reading right now is When the Moon Hatched by Sara A. Parker. I'm halfway through, and I'm really liking it. But I don't know if I'm going to keep liking it at the same rate. I don't know. We'll see. They just got to her mom's cabin, and I was like, please let this be a dream. But it wasn't. And I don't know what the tone is going to be for the back half of this book. The rest of it, we'll see. But I can definitely see the hype of why it was on so many people's best of list from last year, because the world that has been created is fascinating, and I know there's going to be a sequel out this fall, and I'm not even done with the book, and yeah, have yet to find out how it all is going to turn out, or leave you on a cliffhanger maybe. So, mystery, thriller, horror. My favorite genre of 2025 so far. This is not maybe my go-to category. So I think the ones I'm picking up mostly are the good ones, because I've heard so much about them. Up until a few years ago, I never used to read mystery books. And yeah, I know I was missing out. But I think when I do pick them up, I've kind of heard mostly that they're good, or at least with horror. I haven't read too many, and the ones I have read, I've enjoyed, because I just heard so much hype around them. So we'll start with one that actually did not work for me, is The Housemaid by Freida McFadden. I just felt like a knockoff to me. I felt like I was the last person to pick up this book. That it was everywhere. I've listened to a couple other books by her, and she goes all out with her story, but like the dialogue just seems so unnatural and clunky, and it's hard to it feels like she's writing like she's telling a joke or something. I don't know. It felt like a ripoff of Mrs. Parrish, the next Mrs. Parrish, and the last Mrs. Parrish, and it just didn't work for me. So if you haven't read it, you're not missing out, and if you liked it, good. But it didn't work for me. But a book that did work for me is We Used to Live Here by Marcus Clearwer. I think, yeah, man, it's weird, it's scary, it's bizarre, it's out there, it's original, and yeah, it has a mystery to it. I think they were supposed to make it into a movie, a screen adaptation, so that would be fun to see when that is finally made. I read this one. I don't think it would work so much as an audio, because there's hidden messages in the documents, and I knew to look for them from everything I heard, so I think maybe it would have been a little more fun if you were finding it out for the first time, or like saw it without anyone telling you to look out for it. And I guess the book is reprints from Reddit posts that he posted, short stories, or on Reddit or something a couple years ago. I don't know. Anyway, I loved it. I think it's definitely worth the hype, and I can see why it was on so many people's best of list. I had my husband read it with me. I think he finished right before I did, so we could talk about it. It was actually our first booktube video, us discussing all the questions that I had. So if you want to watch that, here's the link. But yeah, I definitely, top 3 so far of my books this year of 2025. One book that was a miss for me, it didn't work, is The Only Survivors by Megan Miranda. I don't know, I feel just like with mystery books that everything kind of hinges on the reveal and the ending and what direction they're going to take it in. And this one did not seem plausible, and it didn't work for me. I did like the very last page. There's like a little clue that she drops, but it did not make the payoff worth it. I read All the Colors of the Dark by Chris Whitaker, and it seemed a little bit longer than maybe it needed to be. The mystery seemed also, I don't know, was his, maybe, no, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe it is better than I thought. Was his mystery of drawing it out the point? If it was, then it worked. But it was like 500 pages. So if you like long books, wondering if what you're reading is real, then go for it. But it was a long one. I read The Grown Up by Gillian Flynn. It was a short story. She writes twisted stories, and this was a good one. I read it as an ebook, and it's, yeah, you can read it in like a day. So I would endorse that one. So the next two are audiobooks that I listened to by Leanne Moriarty, Here One Moment, and 9 Perfect Strangers. I didn't listen to them back to back, and I don't know why I keep listening to her. She just, to me, she's like a screenwriter. She's like a really good screenwriter. I loved Big Little Lies, and I know they just made 9 Perfect Strangers into a show, which was what prompted me to listen to her book. And she's really good at creating these characters that all come together at the end. But it just seems kind of long for a book, in a book version. I started another one of hers and I shelved it with like 100 pages. The Apples Never Fall, like only 100 pages read. So I don't even know if I'll be picking that one back up and finishing it. So if you like her, they're fine stories. They're very imaginative, but they're very character driven and seem kind of drawn out in the middle. I listened to The Next Mrs. Parrish by Liv Constantine, and I don't think this book needed a sequel. The first one was fun, but the whole point is the ending of the first one. I think because it was so successful, maybe they were like, we should write another one. Liv Constantine is 2 sisters who have the pen name Liv Constantine, and maybe one of them has a stronger opinion when they're writing than the other one, which is why this one just seemed to fall flat. It seemed like it didn't have as much going for it as the first one, or maybe the story just didn't need a sequel. I listened to The Institute by Stephen King, and he's so creative, and his books are some of my favorite movies of all time, like Shawshank and Stand By Me, and of course The Shining. But not everything is quite as strong as all of his books. It's a very interesting story, The Institute. I don't know, it reminded me of maybe Stranger Things, but in book form, kind of. It was just long, and I almost gave up on it, so it didn't work for me. So, moving categories into fiction, I read Untethered by Angela Jackson Brown. and I really liked it. It reminded me of House of Eve and the women. It takes place in the 60s in Troy, Alabama, and it was good. I read it in a few days. It was a very easy read. A likable character. I listened to News of the World by Paulette Giles, and I saw this movie when it came out a few years ago. I really liked it, so it was a book club pick, and instead of reading it, since I'd seen the movie, I listened to it. A lot of information about the forcible removal of Native Americans from Alabama to Oklahoma and Texas. And it's a good story. It's a good read. I think some people found it a little dry. But I really found the information to be portrayed in a very interesting way. So historical fiction is definitely one of my favorite genres of books. I read A Girl Called Samson by Amy Harmon. This was my pick for book club, and it didn't work for me. I didn't know that she was based off of a real character until I was finished reading the story, and the first half was great until it just became a romance book that did not work for me, that was sappy. And that's the part that did not happen. So maybe it stands to reason that I did not enjoy it as much, because that was completely made up, whereas the rest was just implied story of her life. So it didn't work for me. But Husbands and Lovers by Beatriz Williams did work for me. It follows two different storylines, one in modern times and one in post-World War II Cairo, Egypt. And they both come together at the end. This is the first book I've read by this author, Beatriz Williams, and I believe she said that she has other characters in her books that kind of make cameo appearances. I would imagine, if you are a fan of Taylor Jenkins Reid, that it kind of comes off like that. So if you like her as an author, you might like Husbands and Lovers. A book that I read that I bought brand new is Tilt by Emma Patty. I was really looking forward to the hype around the new release of this book, and I enjoyed it, but I can't say that I loved it. It's an adventure story. It's climate fiction. So if you like that, you might want to check it out. I listened to Narrowboat Summer by Anne Youngston, and unfortunately, this one was just a little too slow for my liking. It follows two women in England who make a big life change and live on a narrowboat for the summer, and I just found it to be pretty slow. I listened to All Fours by Miranda July, and I didn't care for it. It was just too weird for my liking. I think maybe that's the flavor that she goes for. And yeah, the reviews say that her prose is beautiful, but like her story is just a very acquired taste. And I'm not saying it was completely not worth my time, but I would not recommend that one. But a weird book that I would recommend is Stag Dance by Tori Peters. that one was kind of out there, kind of, I don't know, I guess it's fiction. I don't know, it has some cli-fi vibes too, maybe. It's 4 standalone stories that are compiled into a collection, and Stag Dance takes up the majority of the book, and it sucks you into the whole story. So it's good. It's good. I would definitely recommend that one. The Wedding People by Alison Espak. I think a 5-star read of so far of this year, a top pick. It flowed. Kind of rom-com vibes. It worked out well. It was fun and not too heavy. You didn't have to think about it. I liked it, The Wedding People. I absolutely get why it's so popular because I kept seeing it everywhere. So I wanted to also try it out, and it works, yeah. Another rom-com-y book that I listened to is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez, which was everywhere last year, and I didn't realize that it was a part of her standalone interconnected series with Part of Your World, which I liked. So I guess maybe I'm glad I didn't know that, because otherwise I was like, okay, this is fine. This is a 3-4-star read, and then I gave it 5 stars when she dropped all these other characters from before back into her story. So I did like that. Anxious People by Frederick Bachman. He wrote A Man Called Ove, right? Ove. Which I saw the movie years ago. They came out with the Swedish movie, and then they remade it a couple years ago with Tom Hanks, which he's great. But I don't know. As a book, it didn't work for me. I like the movies. The books seem just too stoic, or I don't know if that's the vibe, if that's the point, that they're just kind of dry and don't work for me. So if you like him, Frederick Bachman, he's got a lot. He's got a new one out right now, Just Friends or My Friends, which I think I have on a wait list somewhere. But Anxious People, I wanted to like it more than I did, and I didn't jive with it. I listened to Blue Sisters by Coco Mellors, and I did jive with that. I loved it. I think what also strengthened it as an audiobook for me is the fact that the chapters are really long, and you would go an hour listening to each sister's story before it went back to the other one. So it follows 4 sisters, the story of the 4 sisters, and it's a good listen. It's a good read. I liked it. A book that I'm listening to right now that I started that I can't see right now being any less than a 4-star read is Sky Daddy by Kate Folk. And it's weird and it's funny, and it's not something that I thought I would come across. I think it was on some trending books or something that I saw it and thought I'd see what it's about, and I like it. It's funny. So we'll see how that wraps up. But of those 34 books this year, I think I would endorse like 23, 25. And my favorite books so far in 2025 are The God of Endings. I listened to it. I love it. We Used to Live Here. I read it. I think it helps and absolutely strengthens it to read it in physical format. and probably The Wedding People, because it's lighthearted, it's easy, it's a summer read for sure. And it would work listening to it or reading it. I'm excited to see how the rest of When the Moon Hatched plays out. And that one I also absolutely am glad I'm reading it, because I am referring to the map, to the glossary, to the characters. There's a whole world that she's created, and I'm here for it for right now. We'll see how it plays out. But yeah. What has been your favorite book so far in 2025? And have you read any of these? Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.